Who's the newcomer on the scene that made a splash in the old world but was even pretty new in the new world? It's my favorite squash, and honestly, it should be yours too. Sorry, summer squash, but we're still friends, right? Hi, I'm Tara, and this is Old Fashioned AF. Today's lesson is in the mighty and very orange pumpkin. A native of the Andes Mountains, it didn't really make an appearance for most people, including North American natives, until the conquistadors brought it round for tea in the late 1500s. They brought it back to Europe, of course, where it was a bit of a curiosity until the late 18th century when the great pumpkin descended upon all of us. Their insides were mostly roasted or put in soups. Rather fanciful soups that were made to be eaten out of the insides of the pumpkins themselves, called huile au citrouille, or pumpkin soup in French. Lush. Anyway, sometime in the 18th century, we Americans became associated with the Yankee pumpkin pie, and the spices we use to make it seem to define us more and more as time goes by. Our association with this magical, brightly hewn fruit is probably connected to our penchant for growing them in times past, though nowadays the vast majority of pumpkins are grown in China. I suppose I can still be proud of the fact that Illinois is the United States' largest producer of pumpkins. So if you live in the United States and have ever had pumpkin seeds before, they probably came from the very state that I am currently sitting in. So how can we make this pumpkin pie so incredibly patriotic that it screams from the rooftops with the voice of 1,000 bald eagles, which, by the way, isn't as endangered a species as you think? Enter the New England pumpkin pie, which is known for its use of molasses instead of sugar. And I love molasses. It's one of the most underrated forms of sweetener. I'm sort of surprised we don't hear about it more often since it has a similar health foodiness vibe to it of maple syrup. Maybe I've just started a new trend. Share this video with every dieter you know, and I'm sure that they'll appreciate it very much. Anyway, let's make some rich, creamy molasses custard and put it in a golden flaky pastry, shall we? Feel free to buy your own pastry shells or make your own crust from the multitudes of recipes out there on the internet. But today, I'm merely talking filling and the importance of blind baking. Of course, you could take the Progress Meatless Cookbook from 1911's advice and align your pie tray with cornmeal instead. No? Let's make some real pie then. First, blind bake your pie crust according to the instructions. You may be tempted to skip this step, but with any type of custard pie, including pumpkin, your chances of a soggy bottom are much stronger when you don't blind bake. Not Mary Berry approved. Even if you do skip this step though, you'll want to at least prick the insides of your pie crust thoroughly. Then add parchment paper and baking beans. I use the same beans that I bought specifically for the purpose of blind baking many years ago. If you do use beans to weigh down your blind bake, be sure to never cook them afterward. It will not turn out well. Next, add your ingredients to your bowl, starting with the whisked eggs. Stir in the pumpkin, milk, molasses, sugar, spices, and cornstarch. The great thing about using cornstarch in this recipe is that it has no taste, but stabilizes the filling so there hopefully won't be any cracks in the top. As usual, you can find all the measurements of everything I added to these pies, as well as what to preheat your oven to, in the description below at my website, oldfashionedaf.com. Once everything is mixed, pour the filling into the crusts until they are about 3/4 of the way full. You'll see that I'm able to fill about 2 pie shells. This filling recipe is good for either 2 8-inch pies or 1 9-inch deep dish pie. Just make sure not to overfill your pie crusts. While the pies bake, I'd like to thank you all for 1,000 subscribers. As promised, 1,000 subs equals my first giveaway, and it'll be coming in this box. Any guesses as to what's inside? If you're a sewer or a crafter like me, then you know it's never ever cookies or biscuits hiding inside a tin like this one. Isn't the Christmas scene adorable though? If you would like to enter to win this tin and its surprise, then simply go to oldfashionedaf.com and you will need to sign up for my email list if you have not already done so. I'll be drawing a random email from my list in the coming week, so make sure you sign up as soon as you're finished watching this video. The pie pies are ready. Let's go take a look. You can see that the molasses has made the filling a dark, dark brown, almost black color. It's beautiful and deep, and it's hard to make it out on screen, but this pie has the blind baked crust. The reason why there's a puffy bit is because I didn't really prick the pie crust as well as I could have, but all in all, it looks pretty nice. Don't mind the crack though. I tapped the pie against the oven on the way over here. Now, let's cut into each pie and see how they turned out. The first pie's crust was very difficult to cut into, and it stuck to the bottom of the pan a little bit when I removed the slice itself. Its crust was also literally falling apart, which is never a good trait for a pie crust. The second pie crust came out pretty smoothly. Now let's take a look at the bottoms, because here is the most important part. Remember that this is the unblind baked pie, and this is the blind baked pie. You can see that in both cases, the molasses pumpkin custard filling has set nicely, but the first pie is actually raw on the bottom and has a crust that fails to hold its filling completely. There's also a little leakage from the filling baking through. The blind baked pie holds its shape very nicely, and it also has a fully baked flaky crust. This is the reason why blind baking is so important. I don't even feel comfortable trying to taste that unblind baked pie because its raw crust looks like a stomachache waiting to happen. Now let's take a look at my molasses pumpkin pie compared with a regular pumpkin pie. See how incredibly different the color is? In a molasses pie, the pumpkin serves as a vehicle for the molasses, so the pie tastes very much of molasses and only a little of the pumpkin. I love this variation on pumpkin pie, but if it sounds revolting to you, here's a tip for those of you who made it this far into the video. If you replace the molasses with brown or granulated sugar in my recipe, you'll get the traditional pumpkin pie taste that you're looking for. Isn't that amazing? The molasses pie has a deep flavor and a silky texture. The regular pumpkin pie is exactly what you'd expect, with the holiday spice and a bit more of the granular texture because it's got the emphasis on the squash. Both, of course, are delicious. Just don't eat the raw pie crust, okay? Since the 1890 edition of Good Housekeeping dictates that each Thanksgiving table should showcase at least 3 different pies, I'll be making at least another one from scratch. The sweet potato pie. Why not 2 more? Well, it has to do with the turkey. And you must have so many questions now, but don't worry, all will be revealed later this week. Bon appetit!